I can see Abhi's slides.
Abhi, slides are shared. You can start. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Okay, start.
Everybody.
Start.
I'm Abhinesh. I'm doing fellowship in Department of Pulmonology, ICHN Hospital for Children. I'm presenting this case, a girl with chronic wet cough on behalf of Professor Dr. Illetsi ma'am, Dr. Kalpana ma'am, and Dr. Sarath Balaji sir unit. Going to make case proper. This child, a 13-year-old girl, is developmentally normal girl child, was born of third-degree consanguineous marriage. She presented to us in March 2020 with a history of chronic wet cough since 3 years of age. The cough was persistent and there was no special character, no postural variation, but it was predominant during night time with the increased early morning sputum production for the last 2 years. This sputum was around moderate quantity, which is mucopurulent. There was no aggravating or relieving factors. History of breathlessness since 10 years of age, which was insidious onset and it was gradually progressing. Initially, it was present only during exertion, but currently it persists even at rest since December 2019. There was for the last 6 months. There was no history of orthopnea. Next slide, sir. There was no history of recurrent otitis media, or skin or deep-seated abscess, or recurrent diarrhea, or recurrent pneumonia. There was history of poor weight gain was present. Next slide, sir. Perinatal events were uneventful. The development was normal. Family history was significant in the form of third-degree consanguineous marriage, and mother has allergic rhinitis. She was immunized as per IAP schedule. There is no contact history. Next slide, sir. On examination, she was conscious and oriented, but she was dyspneic at rest. Grade 2 pan-digital clubbing was present. There was no pallor, no icterus, no significant lymphadenopathy, no pedal edema, and she was short for her age. There is no external markers of tuberculosis. Vitals respiratory rate was increased, and saturation was around 90 to 95% in room. Anthropometry revealed both her height and weight. Both were below third centile. It was chronic malnutrition, and BMI reveals severe thinness. When coming to systemic examination, on respiratory system examination, there is bilateral post-crepitation present all over the areas, otherwise normal. Cardiovascular system P2 was normal, not loud. Abdomen was soft. There is no organomegaly. CNS examination was normal. Thus, coming to our diagnosis, there are points favoring an interstitial lung disease, and there are also points favoring bronchiectasis. Coming to points favoring interstitial lung disease, there was exercise intolerance, there was resting tachypnea, hypoxia was significant, there was poor weight gain, and there was clubbing. Points favoring bronchiectasis were wet cough with early morning sputum production, clubbing, and bilateral course crepitation. But more points were favoring towards interstitial lung disease. There are also points favoring towards asthma qualifier, which were in this child, cough was more predominant during night time, which is nocturnal cough, and there was family history of atopy, which is mother having allergic rhinitis, and there was partial response to salbutamol nebulization. Exercise limitation was present, trigger-induced cough was present. Which are points which are not favoring where the symptoms were persistent, and there was poor weight gain, and there was wet cough, and there was clubbing also. Hence, next slide, sir.
I am sharing, you are speaking. There is a delay.
So next slide, sir.
It was done.
He's actually stuck.
Audible, sir?
You are audible. Slides are being changed. Hence, the diagnosis of ILD with airway hyperreactivity was considered.
Hello.
You are audible, Abhini. Slides are visible to you now. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Unmute. Proceed.
Yes, sir.
Proceed.
Hence the diagnosis of interstitial lung disease with the airway hyperreactivity was considered, and we proceeded with our investigations. Investigation CBC was normal. Absolute eosinophil count was elevated, and IgE was also high, suggesting atopy. RFT and LFT both were normal. X-ray revealed reticulonodular pattern. Both the two X-rays were there before the admission. Both were revealing reticulonodular pattern and some infiltrates predominantly over both middle lobes, right middle lobe and left lingular lobe. So we proceeded with HRCT, which revealed mosaic attenuation in both lung fields with bronchiectatic changes in right middle lobe and lingular segments, favoring ILD. Other investigations, we proceeded with other investigations also, which revealed the bronchoscopy was normal. Valve cultures for bacterial and fungal cultures were normal. TB workup done was normal.
Bharat, ask
Valve-
everyone else to mute.
Must be from Abhi's place, ma'am. I see. Except speaker, others requested to mute yourself. Abhi, proceed.
Yes, sir. Ball cultures were that was normal, including ball and the sweat chloride one done was normal. Echo showed mild elevated pulmonary artery pressure, which also pointed towards interstitial lung disease. So, with the diagnosis of interstitial lung disease with associated airway hyperreactivity, she was started on Budecard MDI 200 microgram, and also started on tablet hydroxychloroquine for ILD, and we also started on furosemide and sildenafil for elevated pulmonary pressures. We followed the child. In August 2020, she again presented with increased cough and breathlessness for 3 days. So, because of exacerbation, we proceeded with repeat CT. In repeat CT also, there were increased bilateral ground glass opacities with increased interstitial thickening was also evident. So, next. So because of this ILD pattern being more evident, we proceeded to pulse methylprednisolone for 3 days. With this, her symptoms improved. So we discharged her on oral prednisolone, continuing other drugs like Budecard, hydroxychloroquine, and furosemide and sildenafil for elevated pulmonary pressure. Again in September 2020, again she presented with another exacerbation. This time, her chest X-ray revealed increased infiltrates in right middle lobe, along with CBC showing elevated total count. So, possibility of infection-induced exacerbation was considered, and we treated the child on IV antibiotic. With this, her symptoms improved. So, in view of frequent exacerbations, we started the child on tablet azathioprine also. Again, another exacerbation occurred in October 2020. As she continued to have wet cough with increased sputum production, and also in view of additional bronchiectatic changes, we thought we will do a primary immunodeficiency workup. Our workup revealed immunoglobulin profile IgG and A was low, and IgM was normal, and IgE was elevated. Flow cytometry lymphocyte subset analysis was normal. We also sent for next generation sequencing. Here we can see the immunoglobulin profile showing IgG, IgA low, with IgM being normal, and the lymphocyte subset analysis was normal. So with this, we consider the possibility of CVAD. Also, because of IgM being normal, we consider the diagnosis of probable hyper IgM syndrome. So we proceeded with a monthly IVIG and tablet Septon prophylaxis. Meanwhile, we started tapering and stopping immunosuppressive azathioprine and prednisolone. So we continued the child only on monthly IVIG and Septon prophylaxis, tablet sildenafil and furosemide for elevated pulmonary pressures. Further follow-up, her exacerbations significantly reduced. Meanwhile, we got our NGS report. This is showed. This comes with the surprise of we were expecting CVAD or hyper IgM, but this showed a rare immunodeficiency, which was interleukin 21 receptor deficiency. which is a combined immunodeficiency, but this is not as severe as a SCID. Coming to interleukin 21R deficiency, this is a combined immunodeficiency which is characterized by defect in both cell-mediated and humoral immunity. In humoral, immunoglobulin class switching is affected. Coming to cell-mediated, both T-cell proliferation is also affected, and also there was impairment in natural killer cell cytotoxicity. Yeah, this is a picture depicting interleukin 21 acts on the B cell by immunoglobulin class switching, and in T cell it will help in proliferation, and in also natural killer cell it also helps in proliferation. So these both are affected. The receptor through which it acts. Coming to the clinical presentation, it clinically mimics CVID, presents in the older child with recurrent sinopulmonary infection predominantly. Respiratory system, it usually presents with recurrent sinopulmonary infection, otitis media, pneumonia, or bronchiectasis. Coming to abdomen, a specific feature of this immunodeficiency is it has an increased susceptibility to cryptosporidium infection, and also it will affect the liver, causing cirrhosis and even liver failure. Growth, it affects it causes failure to thrive. Investigation of these diseases, CBC, absolute neutrophil count and lymphocyte count all will be normal. Immunoglobulin profile will show IgA and IgG being reduced, mimicking CVID. IgM will be normal or increased, mimicking hyper IgM syndrome, but IgE will be elevated, which will differentiate this disease from other CVID or hyper IgM syndrome. Next. Lymphocyte subset analysis will be normal. Memory or class which is memory B cell can be reduced in this disease. Coming to treatment, IVIG replacement antibiotic prophylaxis can be done during the interim period, but hematopoietic stem cell transplantation is the definitive therapy. Prognosis is poor after secondary complications. So early genetic analysis and the early hematopoietic stem cell transplantation is advised in this illness. So here is this article. In this article, the one child with similar interleukin 21 receptor deficiency presented as interstitial pneumonia, like our case. They also They also had a confusion as the clinical picture was mimicking CVID and the immunological profile was mimicking hyper IgM syndrome. Finally, the genetic analysis revealed interleukin 21R deficiency, and the child underwent hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. She was doing well. So coming to take-home message is, any child with a chronic wet cough which lasts more than 8 weeks considered bronchiectasis. And in case of isolated bronchiectasis, even without significant febrile episodes or without other focus of infection, also consider primary immunodeficiency workup. In primary immunodeficiency workup, immunoglobulin profile and lymphocyte subset analysis are not sufficient for managing immunodeficiency. As in our case, genetic analysis has changed our management. We can do hematopoietic stem cell transplant earlier.